So, of course, you can't have a Fast and Furious movie these days without Michelle Rodriguez. And Michelle was part of the press media interviews that we were part of this week. And her interview started off very, very interesting because she was asked, how did she feel about the fact that a lot of people are pushing these days for action films to be nominated for Oscars and perhaps even have categories of their own where stunt coordinators and etc. can be nominated for their work. So this is how Michelle answered the question about whether or not action films need to have more consideration when it comes to Oscar time.
They're fans of the franchise. I mean, like, because here's the thing, when it comes to the Academy, there's this kind of like idea that you have to be art house, that you have to dive deep into the plethora of emotions that the human existence has to offer in order to really be recognized by your peers, for the effort. And, it kind of leaves, people like Jim Cameron, Tom Cruise, or, the Fast and Furious franchise on the corner there, even though it speaks to hundreds of millions of people around the world who buy tickets to see this stuff. Not everybody is formulaic, just trying to tell a story according to some manipulative psychological way to sell stuff. Some people really have something to say, and the fact that you're able to communicate with hundreds of millions of people around the world really means something. And just having 4 Academy Award-winning actresses in our movie proves it. So I'm stoked.
And of course, Fast X sees the arrival of Jason Momoa, playing one of the most interesting villains that we've ever seen in the Fast and Furious franchise. So how did Michelle feel about Jason Momoa coming into the franchise?
It's really cool to see Momoa come on board. I think that we haven't had a villain this luscious since Charlize Theron. So it's like having like this male equivalent of this feminine energy that's just so badass. And I think he just adds this wonderful element of revenge with a smirk, that I think is going to be tasty.
Now, the last few Fast and Furious films have seen some pretty amazing stuff happen. We've seen the characters go into space, we've seen them take on nuclear submarines, and already from the trailer of this movie, we know that Vin Diesel is about to do one of the biggest stunts that we've seen in the franchise with him driving off a damn wall. So, does Michelle think that perhaps Dom is a superhero now?
I think Dom's superpower is his spidey senses, if you will. He has a really good gut. And, when he has a feeling about something, it's usually right. So, you definitely see him sensing that things are going to change, and that he should probably be careful moving forward because everything could be on the line really soon.
Now, the opening of Fast X sees Cypher, Charlize Theron's character, return to the franchise, and her and Letty are supposed to be getting on, but that doesn't stop one of the best fights that we've ever seen occur in the Fast and Furious franchise from happening in this film, when Cypher and Letty get down to it. So, what was Michelle's take on why that fight happened when Letty and Cypher are supposed to be on the same side this time around?
Cypher killed the mother of that kid who's upstairs, and being a girl who grew up, without a sense of family. I mean, if you look at the story of Letty, she was always over at the Toretto home. And there must have been a reason for that. You never hear about her mother, you never hear about her father, and there must be a reason for that. So I would assume that Letty's history is, one of a girl who had that void when it comes to family, and she found family in the Torettos, really young. And so, I think if anybody would understand what that means to a kid, having a sense of home would mean to a child, it would be Letty. And so I think she'd be pretty pissed off at Cypher for taking that right away, from the kid. So yeah, she's not very happy to see Cypher.
Also new to the Fast and Furious franchise this time around with Fast X is director Louis Leterrier. And Michelle was only too happy to let us know what it was like working with Louis.
Louis was a godsend for Fast 10. You know, we're about to venture off and you know, pass on the torch, if you will, with the franchise. It's incredibly important that whoever takes on the task of directing the next, you know, two aspects of this process to really be there to give it all like the rest of us are. And to take whatever comes, you know, no matter what comes at them, and make magic out of it. And that's what we're here to do.
So that's what Michelle thought of working on Fast and Furious 10, Fast X. So it's in cinemas now. Go and check it out. And yeah, keep listening to all the stuff on subcultureentertainment.com because we're going to have a lot more interviews from the cast of Fast X.